Okay, so will the NHL be the first major league in North America to expand past 32 teams? There's been a lot of noise coming out of a lot of locations in the US in recent months, especially in recent days with Salt Lake City. But we know that Atlanta is interested. We know the NHL has had meetings with a potential ownership group in Houston, going back to before Vegas joined the league. Portland comes up, even Omaha, Nebraska comes up. And now you could hypothetically put a team in Omaha, Nebraska, because Winnipeg as a metro area is roughly the same size, and the NHL's working there, so it's possible. And they do have a collegiate program. But there's been a lot of talk of Atlanta getting a new arena built and a potential ownership group in Atlanta. Salt Lake City is the one at the moment that's making all the headlines, making all the news chatter, going really hard and fast at the NHL and Major League Baseball to a certain extent, saying we want these major leagues in Salt Lake City. Now, Salt Lake City is a much smaller metro area than Phoenix, which is where the NHL obviously wants to keep the Coyotes. They need to sort out this arena issue. But there's a lot of people, a lot of experts saying, well, relocate the Coyotes to Salt Lake City or Houston, keep the Coyotes branding, because that actually does sell. Their merchandise sells really, really well. They've gone back to the Kachina look, and that has been very, very popular with just hockey fans in general, because they are very desirable bits of memorabilia and merchandise. To get an original CCM Kachina, you're looking at over $1,000 now. It's skyrocketed in price. So the Kachina look sells jerseys, sells merchandise. So they're making money there. So you could keep the Coyote name, just move it to Houston or Salt Lake City, because guess what? Those cities also have coyotes. Ironically, they're in that coyote belt when it comes to flora and fauna. The issue with Arizona is the arena. They've gone through multiple arenas in Arizona as well, and a lot of owners. They've had unstable ownership. They've not made a lot of money. Ironically, they're making money now at the mullet. They're actually turning a profit. So maybe we are turning a corner, but is time running out to sort out an arena? The NHL wants to avoid relocation, because relocation shows instability that is off-putting to investors. This is where the NHL struggled in the 70s and 80s and lost ground to the NBA, the rival league for that time of year with the indoor arenas and everything. The NBA was lagging behind the NHL in terms of revenue and attendance. And then by the end of the 80s, things had role reversed, and the NHL has never caught up. The last relocation was in 2011. We've had 2 expansions since then. Now, the NHL did go through a massive expansion phase in the 90s. So when I was a kid growing up watching the game, massive expansion phase, and also a lot of relocations as well. Including, I grew up watching the Jets. They moved to Arizona, so I followed the Arizona Coyotes because they were the original Winnipeg Jets, and then the Jets go back in 2011 after the Atlanta Thrashers fail as an organisation. Again, arena issues. They just didn't have a building to play in at all. Unlike Arizona, where they're planning to build a new one and they have a temporary arena, Atlanta didn't have that. There are plans in Atlanta to build a new indoor arena in a better location for the city. Atlanta is a massive metro area. Now, the difference between professional sport in North America and in Europe, it does come down to metro area size. You can have a small market, what would the US and Canadians would class as a small market team in somewhere like in Spain or France or Germany or the UK, which is very successful, sells out, very profitable. I will use the example of Newcastle United. Now, Newcastle United have very wealthy owners, but the city of Newcastle itself, the actual population of Tyne and Wear, is not massive. It's big, but it's not massive. It will be comparable to a Buffalo metro area in the US. It would be. Tyne and Wear has a reasonable population size. It's very condensed in a very small area. But if that was in North America, that would be classed as a smaller metro area, smaller sports market, where some of the major leagues may go, we're not going to place a team there. It's too small a metro area. Now, our TV deals are different and our sponsorship deals are different. This is where, when the NHL is looking at expanding, they're going to look at larger metro areas. So places like Omaha, Nebraska, I think would potentially sell out easy. Easily could sell out, but it's classed as a smaller metro area via population, because it comes down to the TV market viewership and corporate money, dollars. Fans could turn up to games, but if you haven't got that corporate backing and you haven't got all that sponsorship, and then of course the TV market as well. They're going to make less money when it comes to their revenues. And smaller market teams financially are worth less. It's just how it works out. So some very successful, let's say, football teams in the UK, soccer teams for North Americans, would be classed as smaller markets in the US and Canada, which is what the NHL is trying to avoid. Look at Quebec. There's a reason why they don't have a team. Partly it's to do with the Canadian dollar against the US dollar, but it's classed as a very small market. It's a very small metro area when it comes to North America. That's TV viewership, that's corporate. They'll sell out their arena piece of piss. It's all the other economics around it. They would sell out Quebec Core Arena, the big arena in Quebec, piece of piss. Sell out every night. Sell it out for 41 home games a season, plus playoffs. They would sell out every night. But it's classed as a small market area when it comes to metro area population. So let's have a look at it. Salt Lake City's come out recently and said, look, we want an NHL team. We know the NHL's had meetings with Houston, a lot of meetings with Houston. We know Houston put in an expansion bid during the same Vegas expansion process. I believe they were having meetings before Seattle comes into the league, even though Seattle was pretty much nailed on because Seattle also had a bid in during the Vegas expansion period. We know that Atlanta obviously wants this new building and has been very, very keen on, hey, come back here, please come back. We want the NHL back. Omaha, Nebraska has been mentioned, and there's been rumours coming out of the state of Nebraska that, yeah, we might want to have a team. Kansas City gets mentioned, and then people circle back. Well, let's have a team back in Canada. Let's have another team in Canada. Let's have another team in Quebec. Now, if expansion is to happen, it's going to happen in a few years' time. It's not going to happen 2 years' time. It's going to happen, I think, 3, 4, 5 years before the next expansion comes in. The NHL does not want to make the mistakes of the 90s, where they expanded too fast, too quick, which led to a lot of problems. And yes, you could argue that the expansions in Vegas and Seattle have been rounding successes. You know, they're making profit. They're making their expansion fee money back like that. They're making money. They're successful teams. Vegas has already won a Stanley Cup in year 6. Things are going well in the new expansion markets at the moment. These teams aren't at the bottom of the league. They're not going to be drafted first overall. We know that expansion fees is what the NHL wants. So the Arizona situation, people saying we should just relocate the team. They haven't got an arena. Okay. The only way Quebec ever gets a team is if Arizona really can't figure out an arena situation and they have no choice. Much like Atlanta moving to Winnipeg in 2011, that was what happened. The NHL would rather avoid that because relocation fees are worth pennies compared to expansion fees. Relocation fees, you're looking at 1 to 200 million US dollars. Expansion fees, 800 to a billion US dollars. That's what the NHL wants. So if they get 4 teams, that's up to $4 billion. They're going to get maybe $5 billion like that, which then gets spread amongst the other owners, distributed evenly. The players don't get a thing. Another thing which could potentially slow down an expansion process is CBA. Currently, the players do not get any share of the revenues from expansion fees or relocation fees. They don't get any money out of that. And I think that could potentially be a discussion point. Now, there are some people saying the league should contract a little bit. The NHLPA doesn't want that. Again, CBA negotiations, and we've seen in the past during the 90s expansion era, a lot of issues between the NHLPA and the league. Lockouts, player strikes, and just general unrest that carried on into the 2000s. So we'll see what happens, but it's looking very likely that within the next 5 years we're going to have at least 33, 34 teams, and I think by this time, in a decade's time, probably a 36-team league. It's looking very likely. I think the NHL will be the first North American major league to expand past 32 teams. That's my personal opinion. I think the Arizona situation is dragging on, but I think potentially that could be resolved very, very quickly if Maruello, the owner, and the ownership group actually make an announcement publicly. Now, the NHLPA is not happy with the process, with them being kept out of the loop. The on ice product is massively improved with how the team is playing and the improvements the team's made. It's the arena situation. Once that is resolved, then I think the NHL goes back into expansion mode. But they've made no public statement saying we're still expanding. They're just saying not at the moment. It's on the back burner. But when you've got cities like Salt Lake City and Atlanta, Houston, Quebec will never go away. That's always going to be there. Even Omaha, Nebraska, coming out and saying we want, we're interested in having a team, and meetings being had with these locations, with NHL head office, with Gary Bettman. I think expansion is on the horizon again. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Place your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will have some more content for you very, very soon.